You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. Welcome to this week's episode of Stupid Bitches Say What? The Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine, cha-ching, and your hosts, Sean Hipkins and Skye Lee Collett.
Why don't you join us while we go back in time and immerse ourselves in the fabulous cartoons of the 80s? We'll talk about some of our faves that got us out of bed early on a Saturday morning, like Thundercats, the Smurfs, He-Man, Muppet Babies, and more. What are you drinking, Sean?
Well, stupid bitch, I am drinking a red, and it is called Scribe by Pat and Ralph, I think it says.
Well, I'm having difficulty opening mine.
just spit on it.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Nice.
It's so who's it by again, please?
Paul and Ralph. But it's a Barossa, a Shiraz cab, and 2018. But you can see the by Paul and Ralph scribed there. You can't really see it. So, marketing tip, guys, maybe make your font a bit bolder.
Some experts.
I've seen many a wine label in my time.
So you've gone back to 2018? Holy shit. Vintage,
well, it
is for us.
It is a back in time episode, you know, and I have to say, I do, as you know, I like the cabs, the Merlots, and I'm not really a massive fan of the Shiraz, but this Shiraz blend, it's quite nice.
You've taken a liking to it, have you?
It goes down easy.
That's what you want.
Pray tell, Skye, what the fuck you be drinking?
Well, there's something about men in the air, I think, because I'm drinking 4 Men in a Shed. And you're drinking Paul and Ralph.
I am drinking Paul and Ralph.
So that gives us 6 men
and a shed.
But it's also called the Small Batch Trials. And get ready for this. It's a Kunasi Carriganen. I don't know what that is. It's from the Barossa Valley. It's from 2021. And I brought it from Naked Wines purely because I'd never heard the name of a wine. And then I got it. And it's like it's not a proper red.
It's an interesting colour. It's like a really dark rosé.
So it's in between a Shiraz and a rosé, right? So it's sort of see-through-ish, but it's got a really plum look to it. But I'm really scared it's going to be sweet.
It looks sweet, not going to lie.
It does, doesn't it? Okay, ready? Shall I do a little taste?
Give it a crack.
I'll do a little taste. Let's be hopeful because I'm going to go. I've got another not that great rosé in the fridge. So if this tastes like shite, which I think it may, I'll be back. And
give it 2 sips. You know, the first one always does the taste bud fucking terrorization.
Once again, excellent advice from 2 professional drinkers.
Thank you. Oh, that's the reaction.
Oh.
Give us a bit of a verdict on your first sip.
Oh, okay. I haven't had my second sip yet. Hold on.
Go first. I just want to know, hang on, before you go second, what's the first one like?
So it's sort of like a red Chardonnay.
Ooh.
Yeah. We have to try these things. Hold on.
We do. What's it smell like?
Not great. It is. I think it's in the rosé realm,
right?
But it's more of a really dry. You know what? I'm not one to back down from a challenge, so I'm gonna
love that for you.
Drink this.
Love that for you. Your taste buds will get numb soon.
Look, I'm gonna persevere. I'm gonna push through. Okay.
Good.
Let's see how we go.
Cheers.
Drinking the Cornice Carriganen. That's what I'm going with.
Cheers.
Cheers, stupid bitch. So how's your week been?
Look, besides work, which I don't want to talk about this week. So I had my birthday shindig on Saturday, which is really nice. You did, but you had a very good excuse.
Please remember that we are best friends. Just sometimes we can't always go to each other's birthday shindig. It doesn't mean I love him any less.
Well, you had a good excuse.
I was devastated to miss it, yes.
Which you can talk about in your update. But yeah, we had it in our MPR room that's attached to the set of units, which is great.
Wonderful space, yes.
$400 cash deposit you have to put down for it. Overlooks the pool, was lovely, had some good drinks with friends. But we were in there for a while and we were very messy by the time we left. There was bubbles galore, of course. And by the time we'd left, someone had, as we were leaving, broke a bowl, someone broke a bottle. And we cleaned up as much as we could, but we knew that no one was using it the next day. So we thought we'd go back down on Sunday to finish off the tidying.
Sure.
2 o'clock, the Facebook group for our building, the message comes up. It's not only is it mandatory, it's also common decency to clean the MPR after you've used it and pick up broken glass off the floor and wipe down the tables. We are doing this now. I was like, fuck. So I've ran into the room, Vinny. I'm like, Vinny, there's someone in the common room. They're using they're using it for a party. We didn't know they were going to be there. Had to run down with fucking
Was this
the
2
vacuum.
in the afternoon or 2 in the morning?
In the afternoon on Sunday. And so we ran down. Vinny was down there with the vacuuming shit up. They'd pretty much cleaned it all. We were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. The lady was downstairs talking to Vinny at the time. Well, not really talking to Vinny, but giving him shade while he was doing it all. I was communicating with the husband. I'm like, oh my God, we're so sorry, blah, blah, blah. We didn't think anyone was using it today. He took the post down. He was like, understand under the circumstances. Thanks for letting us know. And when we dropped off our key to get our $400 deposit back, which we did get, thankfully, we gave them a nice little box of chocolates and a bottle of wine too, to say, can you pass this on to old mate when he drops off his key, with our apologies. And they were very,
oh my God.
I know, we were fucking mortified when that happened. And we're like, we're so embarrassed. But they were very appreciative and very understanding. So thank God for decent neighbours. But yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And when I say we went down, I mean I sent Vinny down. It was my birthday weekend. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. I'll communicate.
You're it.
Yeah, I'll put out the fires with text messages and communications. You go down with the vacuum.
God, how horrifying.
I know. And hungover as fuck too on the Sunday and thinking, oh shit. Yeah, so that was that. How was your week been?
Oh, I just had another sip of water. That was awful. Yeah, look, it was wonderful. And I know that a lot of people have some strong feelings about the races, so I wasn't really going to talk about it too much. But we went to Doomben race course. That was my dad's wishes. He loves a punt, as do we all in my family. Who knew that one of my best friends who also came along was an expert in horse racing and pretty much schooled us all in everything there was to know about racing during the day, which was fun. But we got sideline seats. We got to go to what they call the mounting yard, where you get to watch the horses parade around before they go and race. That was quite cool. Really fun day, actually.
Nice. And your dad had fun?
Dad had an absolute ball. Went very long into the evening. Yeah, massive night. Dad actually stepped out at a reasonable hour.
Good on him.
Meanwhile, my cousin was visiting from interstate, and it proceeded to get very messy, and I was not well several days after.
We just can't do it we can do it like we used to. We just can't kick back like we used to, or back it up.
Seriously contemplating giving up the booze.
Oh, yeah.
As she says with a wine in her hand.
Welcome to that phase of life. I've been through that about 12 times. Yeah.
I wonder what my life would be like if I was just alcohol free.
I know.
Would I feel healthy? Would I wake up in the morning feeling healthy? People say that that's what happens, when you give it up. You lose a lot of weight. You become more motivated in life.
Generally more happy.
Would I be a better person if I didn't like to get drunk? I don't
know.
Will I ever find out?
I don't know. I have had those.
a sliding doors situation
Yes.
I need to go into, you know, do a whole Gwyneth Paltrow chop of my hair off and see what it's like on the other side.
And then watch it and go, actually, pour me another glass. But no, I understand completely.
Like it.
Over the last couple of years, I've had many of those thoughts myself, or like, you know, maybe I should just try it. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
And while people do feel better, it seems, after they do give up the booze, I've never seen anyone sober have as much fun as someone who's drunk.
Especially you and I, because we know how to party.
We do. Party.
Oh, goodness. We dream.
We dream. Yeah. I know. At this stage, look, I do enjoy a drink. And I think, you know, if I can't even really do fucking dry July or anything, I think it's going to be very hard to give up the booze altogether.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right. Should we step into our time machine and jump back to the 80s?
Yes, let's, shall we?
All right. Now hold on to your headphones.
To start. Hold on to your headphones. I love that.
We're about to time warp back. Ooh. Oh my God, there's so much high vis. There's so much fluoro around. What the fuck is that with her hair? Wow.
There's so many shoulder pads.
And perms.
I've thought about getting a perm recently, actually.
Oh, a poodle perm, like a real short one.
I've always wanted curly hair. Look how straight my hair is. I've always wanted curly hair.
Yeah, but how like you got to have a long perm?
I don't know. I don't even know what's involved in the perm, to be fair.
I remember
just want curly hair, okay?
I remember Kylie got a perm in fucking like 95 or something. And she had hair probably the length of yours, maybe a little bit shorter, but when she permed it, when she'd first come out with the perm, it was like Kath from Kath and Kim. It goes that short because obviously you lose your length with the curls. And I would love to see you rocking that do.
So my hair's like just a bit longer than that. So my perm would probably take it up to about here, right? And it'd just be like spiral rings.
With your natural glow.
I'd look like a poodle.
You'd have to put sheen on it as well so it shimmered. And she shook your curls around.
In the 80s, my mum used to get a perm regularly. She always had that ringlet.
So did my mum. My mum was very, well, it sounds like both our mums are very hip and with it.
Yeah, she looked very stylish. My mum, she's very stylish with her white belts.
Yes.
Off the one shoulder. she
and the blue eyeshadow.
Yeah, good time.
The 80s, good times. So we're teased mercilessly when we were in the 90s, all 80s fashion, even in the noughties, really. But it's making a big comeback, isn't it?
It always does. It just goes round and round.
So we were young.
Who's going first?
Well,
you're going.
We'll jump in, yeah. So we were young. We were kids, both kids. You were born in 1980. I was 3 in 1980, so you can't say I was a fucking senior.
We're different decades. We're born in different decades.
By 3 years.
Still.
And cartoons were life. You'd wake up very early on a Saturday morning to make sure you got out there to watch your favorite cartoon. Pray tell, it was pre-VCR, so you couldn't even record your fucking cartoons in the morning. You'd also get up every morning before school and make sure you were in front of the box to watch your next episode of the next cartoon. And do you remember the breakfast shows? So it'd be Boris's Breakfast Club. That was probably the first one.
Aggro was the one I recall the most.
Yes. Was it just called
Jamie
Aggro?
Dunn.
Yes, one of my favorite cartoons. And I fucking adored it was Voltron. Do you remember Voltron at all?
Look, I don't, but when I was talking to Tyler about the subject, he was like, fuck yeah, Voltron, I love Voltron. Yet he didn't know who I was talking about. When I was talking about some of the others, I'm not going to say them because we'll get to that. But when I was talking about some of the old 80s, he was like, I don't know what that is. And I was like, then I said Voltron. He's like, oh my God, Voltron's awesome.
Well, Voltron, I think, is one of those ones where it had its first release and then they've done re-releases like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they've modernized it and released it again. So there was probably I was going to say a 90s version that he might have seen, but maybe an early 2000s version that he was familiar with. Because the 90s
was truly horrible.
I could see your face. But yeah, I loved Voltron. It first started out though, the first series I watched, the Voltron's basically when all these things come together and form a major robot, like a big robot. And the thing
Transformers. It's Transformers.
Well, sort of, but there were little pieces built this big robot man, who would then go out and defeat the fucking, like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You know how they'd get their big one, they'd fight the
Mighty
thing.
Morphin Power Rangers.
So it's similar to that. And they would always do the call when they were going to form the person. It would go, I can't remember what the first part was, but it'd go form arms and legs, form wings and torso, and I'll form the head. And then it would turn into the big fucking robot. And whoever was the head was the leader of it. But the first series I watched, Voltron was made up of about 20 different fucking vehicles. Like there would be vans as his feet and shit. But then the next installment, which was my favorite, it was Lion Force Voltron or something like that. And that was where Voltron was actually made up of 5 lions. They were mechanical, and the human people were in the lions making them do shit. And they all had their abilities, but it was the same deal: form arms and legs. Form chest and wings and torso, and I'll form the head. The head. And yeah,
and
loved
I am the boss.
I am Voltron. But the reason why I have it is such an amazing memory too. So it was around the time my mum it was 80s. My mother was a professional executive 80s woman. So she worked in politics. She worked for Senator John Black at the time. And this was sort of like, big moves in the 80s for women to be getting out there in positions of power and shit.
Absolutely, it was.
It was. And so she used to go to Canberra a lot for work because she'd be going to Parliament House, get the money. And then whenever she'd come back, I'd always get a new piece for the Voltron thing, until the point where I got to the thing where I ended up with the big major one. And I could make the head and the wings and the torso and turn it into the fucking massive Voltron.
Honey, that's beautiful.
It was awesome. Story. So every time she'd come back and I'd get a new piece, I'd be so excited. And I used to write
kids don't really need to wait for stuff the way that we used to have to wait for stuff. But it's such a culture now where everything's accessible financially and stuff.
Yes.
And you get it, you just get it for Christmas or a birthday or even just for anything. Whereas we used to have to either, save up our pocket money forever for stuff, or
and everything was so sort of still, well, comparisonly was still fucking very expensive too. Like even, do you remember when Nintendo first came out? The very first Nintendo Masters. Interest rates were high. Interest rates were like 19% and shit. But when you get a Nintendo, when Nintendo first came out, and this is back in the 90s, I think, the cartridges then were $100 a game. Yeah, and they were $100 a game back then, so.
And you would play it, like we would play it, we'd find different ways to do different levels. Like after we'd finish the game, we'd go, okay, you have to go through the game without dying once, or you'd have to go through the game without getting any of the top-ups, like you couldn't get any of the bonuses. You had to try to do it like as a little man or something like that. We'd always have different challenges to make
your imagination
to keep going, because you only had that one game. Now kids finish the game, like, oh, the game's finished.
You download another one and do it.
So they get another one. Whereas
exactly.
we didn't have that. You had one. Like, remember we had the duck hunt, the shooting duck?
Yeah.
Duck hunt.
And you get the gun.
That has to be one of the boringest games ever. But we would play it for hours and
It was
hours
out of this world
hours.
for us, though, that type of stuff, too, because it never existed.
Yeah.
Especially in your house. You're always going to an arcade if you wanted to play that type of shit. So it took a long time, but I finally got my Voltron that I was able to put together and form the head. I used to.
And so, is your Voltron still in the UK with your Game Boy and your Tamagotchi?
And my Nintendo 64. No, I don't know. I think the Voltron got trashed during one of the moves. I have no idea what happened to it. But I remember when Mum used to go on the trips, and she'd be gone for 3 nights or something, or even a week. I used to scream at the airport. I mean, they're like, "Oh, Mom," banging on the window so she would look at me and shit. And then when she'd gone, I'd write her a note the night before she'd come back and have it stuck on the wall. And it'd be like, "On the first day you left, my heart was broken," and a picture of the broken heart. But by Wednesday, it was slowly coming back together. And now that you're coming home tomorrow, my heart is full again. And have it pinned up because she'd be getting home early in the morning.
special child.
I was a total
lady.
mama's boy. I'm a total mama's boy.
So what did your brothers get while she was collecting, like living on a lean lifestyle with all her extras?
To
so
be
that
fair,
she could get the Voltron pieces. They got nothing, did
I
they?
don't think they got jack shit.
Don't tell your brothers. This is just
Oh, they
you.
knew.
Go
They knew
put
I
it
got
somewhere
it.
else.
They knew I got it. And it was always spoilt Sean. But they were 5 and 7 years older than me. So it was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think they got anything. Fuck him. Fuck him. So that's my first reminisce. What have you got for me?
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with, hang on, I'm going to talk. So, my first cartoon from the 80s is The Little Blue Men. Smurfs. Yes, I was a big Smurf girl. And look, when I think back of the cartoons that I remember watching when I was quite little, Smurfs and the Flintstones are my two faves.
Yeah.
The Jetsons is up there as well.
Yeah. The
But I wasn't into
Jetsons.
the Jetsons as much as other people were. Everyone loved it. Astro the dog.
And the whole concept of being able to push a button on the fridge and it serve you a meal. That was
And
pretty
Rosie
amazing.
the robot, remember Rosie?
And going into the chutes to go somewhere and shit. Meet George Jetson.
His wife Judy.
No.
What was it, Jane?
Jane. His wife.
His wife.
Daughter Judy. His boy Elroy. Jane. His wife. Dun, 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 dun.
But certainly the Smurfs and the Flintstones were the two big ones. And my dad was a massive cartoon fan, right? He would totally sit down. If he wasn't working on a Saturday morning and the Smurfs was on, he'd be sitting next to us watching the Smurfs.
Yeah.
Making, Vegemite on toast.
Smurfs was pretty, it was pretty clever
tea.
too, the way they had the little Smurfs like Vanity and fucking Mr. Strong Smurf, whatever his name was.
I looked up
Hefty.
a whole list of them. Hefty, it was. It was too Hefty. So I looked up the list. I could actually tell you. I'm going to see where it is. Hefty, yep. Hefty was on there. Greedy. The main ones that was always Clumsy and Brainy and Smurfette and Papa Smurf.
Brainy. I used to always compare Brainy to Lee. The one with the glasses, and he would always dob on people.
And there was Jokey, and then there was Chef, and like you said, Vanity, Handy. So
Andy
many of
Smurf
them.
with the wrench,
And the belt. He had his little belt around him.
Yeah.
He was like the gruff, he was really the manly. And like him and Smurfette used to have a little bit of a thing, didn't they?
Well, and do you remember Papa Smurf, of course?
Yeah, Papa Smurf.
In red.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder why he was in red, just because he was the leader, I guess.
He was the boss.
Yeah.
He was the charge.
Do you remember the episode where Smurfette came into the Smurfs? Because she wasn't originally in it. They introduced her through it.
Oh my God. Well, she's listed here in the 1981 series.
Yeah, so there was an episode where she got introduced into it.
In the first series. Is that what you're talking about?
Mate, I think so. I can tell you what I remember if you want me to, but I don't want to.
I don't actually remember that.
I got your story. So Gargamel, mate, Gargamel, obviously, and Cat Azrael. Was it Azrael?
Yes.
Who were always trying to get the Smurfs to kill them or get their blueberries, Smurf berries and shit to make magic potions. So he made Smurfette and he sent Smurfette into the Smurfs as a spy, basically, to try and fucking cause havoc.
Remember that. Yes.
And then the Smurfs actually win Smurfette over with their whole Smurfy goodness. And she decides she actually wants to stay on as a Smurf.
She originally had black hair.
Did she have black hair originally?
She did, yes. And then hang on. Though when Papa Smurf made her into a Smurf, her hair became blonde.
Oh, so did Papa Smurf make her an official Smurf, basically? Yeah.
And then before the Smurflings created Sissette. Which one was Sissette? I remember Sissette now. Smurfette was the only female Smurf in the Smurf village.
I think Sissette, though, was from maybe in the late 80s, 90s, maybe.
Yeah, let me have a look.
Because she was a little one. Were they kids? They were little kid Smurflings.
Oh, yeah, she was too. She was the little kid girl on Sissette.
Yeah.
Yes. I loved her. I forgot about her.
I used to love Azrael the cat, too.
Yes, I did too. Yeah. It was a great show. I loved it. But it was just like, and then I've seen the movies when they've redone it, and it does have Neil Patrick Harris in it, who I do adore.
I haven't seen any of the
but-
movies. Are they good?
Don't do it. Don't
Okay.
bother. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say is that I always related to Smurfette because I was one of those. Even though I was a bit of a tomboy growing up, I was definitely a girly girl in lots of ways. And whenever there was a girl character in anything, I always immediately related to the girl character. And so Smurfette was always my favorite, and I loved her and wanted her in like every storyline. And luckily, she pretty much was. Because she was the only girl in the village, so she was always in one storyline.
For I am the only girl in the village. Yes,
yeah.
she was one of the main characters for sure.
Yeah, but it's was based on a Belgian comic series created by the Belgian cartoonist Hayo, and it goes back to the 1950s. Just a little bit of trivia there.
Well, the Belgian were very big with their comics because they also did. Wasn't it Rin Tin Tin and Asterix and Obelix? The Asterix comics. Do you remember them?
Yes, I do, but I didn't
love
realise
Asterix.
that's a big guy. Asterix is a big guy, wasn't he?
He was the little guy. Obelix was the big guy.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They drink their magic potion and go kill the ghouls.
Yeah,
The Roman people.
Me. I vaguely remember them being like on a cover of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, so what have you got next? What's next?
Well, during our conversation then, I've just changed one of mine that I was going to talk about because it made me remember another cartoon that was much more, meant much more to me growing up than.
I have some honorary mentions as well after my few.
Yeah, so I'm going to change one of my topics that we mentioned in the intro, Thundercats, to an honorary mention now. Yeah, this one's taken over. But before we go on to the next one, remember, how we're talking about the Jetsons and the Flintstones?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie? Because remember when in the Flintstones, Marvin the Martian, not Marvin the Martian, that little green man, Martian, was
I do remember.
from the future and used to harass Fred, basically.
Yeah.
Do you remember that there was a movie, I think it was a telly movie, where the Jetsons went back in time and met the Flintstones?
Yes, I do remember that.
That was
there was a lot of crossovers back in the day too with all those cartoons. But I've seen the films too for the Flintstones, and I did quite enjoy them. But I was a lot younger. I don't know if I'd enjoy them now.
Do you mean the human films, or
yes,
with John Goodman and that?
Yeah, I love John Goodman. I think it's great.
Rosie O'Donnell was Betty.
Yes,
and I think Rick Moranis was Barney.
I think it was, but then wasn't the later ones the guy from the Full Monty, the chubby guy from the Full Monty?
Because I think one of the sequel Flintstones, one of them was a prequel when Fred met Wilma and that.
It was too. Oh, I can't even remember all this. Yes. Okay, so go on.
Okay, so oh shit! I just closed my page. I will save the one I just changed for Thundercats for the end. Sure. But the next one that I'm going to mention is, and it's funny because it's He-Man Masters of the Universe, which I loved. And I remember saying it to Vinny, I was doing that. He was like, oh, please, you're more of a She-Ra fan. I was like, I can see how he'd make that association. But when you look at He-Man and the muscles and all that stuff, that's probably also why he was my favorite.
And
I just didn't know.
This cat that I used to, what was the cat called?
Battle Cat? Wasn't it
Battle Cat? I think it was something like that.
But before it became, when he'd do the I have the power, and then he'd zap the cat, which would become Battle Cat.
No, hang on, hold on. It was for the power of Grayskull.
Oh, yeah.
He-Man.
By the power of Grayskull.
Grayskull.
I have the power.
Yeah, because that became She-Ra's as well. So for the power of Grayskull, She-Ra.
Right. She-Ra.
I'm going to go back in time just before you start your spiel, but I recall, and I don't know if you can relate to this story, but my cousins Jason and Shane, when we were growing up, both had, so Shane had the Skeletor Castle. Do you remember what that looked like?
I had that, and it was actually called Snake Mountain. Thank you.
Snake Mountain. I'm so sorry. It was Snake Mountain.
And it had, right. When you took the snake out, you could speak into it, and it would do the boom voice.
It was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And so, what was the He-Man castle called then?
Grayskull.
Grayskull. Grayskull.
Yeah, you stupid bitch.
So Shane had the Grayskull. I mean, so Jason had Grayskull and Shane had Snake Mountain. And I remember because I was a bit of a tomboy and I looked up to the two boy cousins like so much. They were just my absolute idols. All I wanted to do, and I was a much younger girl, was just hang out with them. I just thought they were the coolest people ever. So, you know, I used to get away with being able to hang out with them by basically doing whatever they told me to do and also keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. So you were the little fucking accomplice.
Yeah, totally. They wanted something, I went and got it for them, and also just shut my mouth. You know, didn't harass them, didn't get up in their grill too much, and they let me hang around.
Nice.
But I used to always be the shearer because shearer was always part of it. So they'd play their two skulls and they were battling, and I'd come in with my shearer, and I used to just think I was the bee's knees because I could be the shearer character in their games that they. And I mean, this is when we were probably like 5, 6, 7, 8, like very small children. But it's one of my. And I was in I walked past a shop. I think it was at Veranda years ago, maybe just before I went down to Central Coast. And it was like an old vintage game shop, and they had the Skeletor castle in there. A vintage version of it that was in immaculate condition. I think they wanted like $100 or $150 for it or something like that. And I think it had some of the figurines, and I was like, oh my God, like if I was a rich person, I would just totally buy it just to have it. Like it just was so cool.
Nostalgic. Yeah. No, so I found the cat's name. It was Cringer before it became Battle Cat. Yeah. And I remember because he used to be
that.
Yeah, because Cringer used to always be like scared and shit. It didn't want to do anything. It'd be cringe.
That's right.
Yeah, and then but when it became Battle Cat, it was like rah. Yeah, exactly. But they were some of the first action figures I had. There was a lizard man that you'd turn one way and his tail would swip.
I remember the lizard man. Well, yes.
I remember I took it to school one day. This just come to me now, this memory. I took it to school one day, and he had this little orange spear, I think it was, like a spear, I guess. That was his weapon. And Kylie and Chantel, who lived down the road from us, went to the same school as me, back to South State School. And I remember walking there, and they were 1 and 4 years older than me, and they were quite bullyish. And you could imagine.
Not Kylie.
No, not Kylie Deegan. No. And I was quite a soft child. I remember they pushed me in the mud as I was walking to school, and I was crying because they'd got mud on my clothes.
Bitches.
And they took the spear and she stuck it up her nose and pulled it out with the booger on it. I was mortified. I was terrified. But yeah, that was my lizard man.
Talk about Mean Girls.
And I mean, like when I say Mean Girls, I was probably in grade 2. She was in grade 3 and 7, I guess. So it was products
I'm
of
sure
their
she ended
environment.
up probably growing up to be someone in prison or something. That's horrific to do to a child. I know she's only like a year older than you, but what a bitch.
Well, she was my best friend at the time, like my neighbour friend I used to play with all the time.
She was your best friend. And she put your lizard red spear up her nose and got a booger out.
And I'm friends with her on Facebook too.
Stop it. We should message her.
Okay, FYI, you're mentioned in the podcast.
Oh, remember Teresa?
Teresa Kunst.
Teresa Kunst. We haven't said that in ages.
Teddy's formal date.
Teresa
Kunst.
Oh my God. Do you remember when he told us that story and how much we wet ourselves for ages and made him sit there for hours, like try to find her on Facebook and show us pictures and shit of her?
Teresa Kunst. She's probably changed her name by Depol for fucking
Yeah, that's
sure.
what we were saying. And then we're like, no, you have to find her, look through all your friends, and we still couldn't find her. And then we were obsessed with her, remember?
Yeah, and do you remember I relayed the story?
Said your mum fucking hates ya.
That's right. Teresa's here. She says you're a cunt. No, that's just my name. Shut up, cunt.
And people never understood what we were
The
doing.
hilarity.
About.
Do you remember I told the story in fucking Ireland?
Time.
We were in the pub for our wedding. And
yes.
Teddy was there, and I started telling the story, and it just dropped flat. No one said anything. I was like, oh, I'm mortified.
Meanwhile, I'm sat there wetting myself laughing.
Yeah. And they're just looking at me like,
best story ever. And they're like,
so anyway, they were that.
Who's Teresa?
Yeah, what a cunt.
She's a person. person. She's like based on a real person, but we made her up.
Yeah.
You have
But
to be there.
But she said, "You're a can."
Yeah, she said your mum fucking hates you.
She hates your guts. So yeah, I had Snake Mountain, and I had all these other figures. There was ones where I had the He-Man and the Skeletor, where you hit them once with a weapon and their chest plate would spin to 1 cross on it, and then it split into 2 and 3, and when you got to 3 you were dead.
I also recall those. Look, this one's horrible, but I'm pouring another glass because I'm too lazy to go to the kitchen to find something else.
And you're committed to the craft.
I'm committed. I'm a professional. We've talked about this. I'm a professional.
You are. Look, no one can ever take that away from us.
Professional drinker.
Professional.
Maybe that should be part of our merch.
Professional. But yeah, so I had that chest plate one, and I had Snake Mountain. I got that one Christmas, and I remember the Christmas I actually got it. We'd all gone to Rollercade. Do you remember Rollercade?
Yes, I loved Rollercade.
In Cleveland.
They shut it down. I can't believe they shut it down.
I know. The big roller rink.
My life when I shut it down, even though I was in my 20s.
Yeah. So yeah, we went. Our parents used to drop us off at Rollercade on a Thursday night while they'd go do the grocery shopping, and so we'd skate, and then they'd come and pick us up, and we'd go home. But I remember Dad had a big Tarago, and this one time they picked it up. It must have just been before Christmas, and all the seats were laid flat, and I was like, "Woohoo, party time!" Because I was a kid, like yay! And they were all. The reason why they put it all flat is because the presents were hidden underneath the chairs for Christmas, and one of them was Snake Mountain.
God, kids are so dumb, aren't they?
And when I opened the present, there was bits missing from it, and so I remember we had to go down to Kmart again and change it, and then open up another box to take bits that were missing. And I still fucked up because I ended up missing the drop net that came under the trapdoor of Snake Mountain when they stood at the top, but that was okay. But yeah, I loved it.
Did you get Snake Mountain because you wanted that more than Grayscale, or is that because it was easily more accessible because everyone wanted Grayscale?
I wanted Snake Mountain. So when it comes to cartoons and stuff, and I've reminisced about this with Vinny. So like even with Bugs Bunny, I never liked Bugs Bunny. I always liked Daffy Duck. I didn't like Mickey Mouse. I loved Donald Duck. I never liked the big main one. I always liked the sidekick.
See, I always loved Goofy. Goofy was, I never liked Mickey Mouse. I loved Goofy. I loved him. When he started bringing out Goofy movies, I loved him. I loved all the Goofy movies.
Yeah, so I was the same. I never loved the main one. Always loved the offside.
I was never a Looney Tunes fan though, really, ever. Like we used to watch the Roadrunner because Dad always liked the Roadrunner and Coyote.
And Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote, but I was never a fan, never into it.
And I could never get what fucking Acme was. The Acme products, Wile E. Coyote used to always get Acme. I don't know what Acme stands for or what it was shortened for or whatever.
I think it was just a fictional brand.
Maybe a fictional, because he used to get his bombs delivered by Acme and there'd be Acme written on the box.
And the trucks and stuff, yeah.
And I did love fucking Speedy Gonzalez. Underlay, buddy.
I do. But like when they cancelled Pepe Le Pew because it was
he was a womanizer.
It was like there was a word that they used, I can't think of what it is, because he was forcing women basically without their consent.
Yes. A predator.
And so my friend, who is such a liberal person, one of my friends on the coast who's is very, very different political views from myself, and on the Central Coast that's not uncommon. But he always calls me a greenie, and when we get into political discussions, he always says, "You fucking greenie," in a joking way, a little place of love.
Well, I don't see any shame in being a greenie either. I'm a greenie Labour.
I know, but I guess maybe actually my views have become a little bit more that way in recent years. Anyway, and he was supposed to be a greenie, and then so when they cancelled Pepe Le Pew, he said to me, "You fucking have it with yourself now."
But when you look at it,
and I was like, I had nothing to do with it. I feel like I'm proper with Pepe Le Pew. Like,
but when you look at it, it is problematic in today's day and age,
Yes, it is.
And it's like, and we're digressing now, but fucking 80s.
You have to take it with a grain of salt too.
Exactly.
Are we going to cancel every single 80s film?
But there was do you remember Revenge of the Nerds? We fucking loved it. And it was great. Yeah. And then, at the end where the nerd screws the chick, but he's pretending he's someone else. it is basically rape.
Yeah.
But like
But
at the
what about,
time, it didn't come across like that at all. It was like, oh
even
yeah, yay.
even episodes of Friends, though. If you look
Yeah.
at some of the early stuff, some of the things that they used to say about being gay and the sexual,
Trans.
Chandler's
mother.
The sexist comments that they used to have and things like that. Like in this day and age, is completely unacceptable, but yet is amusing. And I love that show. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And it's one of my feel-good shows that I just watch sometimes when I'm, bored or
Have in the background and something.
Yeah, but certainly they cross the line in today's standards of acceptable humour.
You've got to have, and I mean, we might get into this a bit more next week's episode, but you've got to have there is a boundary, of course, that you can't cross, but there's also a big grey area where you've got to allow some comedic stuff to be funny.
And you can't erase history either.
Oh, you can't erase history. You can't. Well, that's like with Little House on the Prairie or something, where they wanted to take that off because there was a lot of racial connotations and stuff, and the mammies and whatnot.
Of course.
But that's time back then. And as you said, you can't erase history because you've got to make sure that you've got a benchmark for what to not go down to again. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's my my He-Man. He-Man.
How did we get onto because we're talking about Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah. Oh, and while we're on He-Man, let's go over to the She-Ra thing. I did love She-Ra. And do you remember at the end of the episode, I think it was She-Ra, you had to, throughout the episode, there was a character that was hidden somewhere. And at the end of the episode, he'd be like, did you see me this episode? Here I was. And it was, all right, next, your one.
Okay. All right. So, look, I'm just going to jump straight into it with the Muppet Babies. Muppet Babies.
We make your dreams come true. Drop, doo wop.
Muppet Babies. Anyway, so for those who don't know, the Muppet Babies was an animated series that ran for 7 years from 1984 to 1990. And then a reboot in 2018.
Yes. I was going to say, I think they did a reboot, yeah.
On Disney Junior, which I did not know about until today when I was Googling shit.
Is it a bit more Pixar-like?
Yes, and it's certainly not the kind of content that was back in the 80s, and Disney Junior is very much like, I watch a Disney Junior program now and I want to, like slit my wrists. Yeah. It's pretty, like, the Coco Melon. Have you seen any of the most recent ones? So no. Some of the shows that they have on there is literally like gouge my eyes out so I don't have to watch this program. That's how bad it is. Like having a baby now and putting them in front of it, I couldn't imagine.
Do you think our parents were the same about Muppet Babies, going, oh, for fuck's sake, here's that shit again?
Yeah, but like I was saying before, like my dad used to sit down and watch the Smurfs with us. Yeah. I think it was a little bit more tolerable. Yeah. But there was shows that Link used to watch. Like I could sit down and watch High Five with them, and even some of the Wiggle stuff. But then there were certain shows that he watched that I couldn't not stand at all.
But you're right, Muppet Babies was a fucking phenomenon back when we were kids. I fucking loved it.
So good. So the series featured Baby Kermit, Baby Piggy, Baby Gonzo, Rolf, Baby Animal, Baby Scooter, Baby Skeeter, and my absolute fave, Baby Fozzie.
He was Fonzie. Fozzie, yes.
Fozzie, it's Fozzie.
He was my favourite. Waka, waka, waka.
Waka, waka, waka.
He was my favourite too.
I mean, it was just the cutest. He was just so cute.
He was the best.
But I also loved Baby Bunsen. And Baby, what's the other one? I've actually put Baby Skeeter, but it's not Baby Skeeter. It's Baby Bunsen, and what was his other mate?
It wasn't Bunsen, a Scooter.
Baby Beaker. Baby Beaker. So Skeeter and Scooter were the brother and sisters that looked the same. Yeah. And then Bunsen and Beaker were the science guys. Yeah. But when he was a baby, he said the beak beak's so cute. It was like the cutest thing ever.
I did love Beaker as well.
And even though we went into this on an episode one time, then we ended up cutting it. Let's talk about the Macca's toys.
Yes.
That were coined because of the series that at our age, which was would have been 86, do you reckon? Maybe even earlier.
I don't know. I think the Macca's toys came out in the 90s.
No.
I believe so, yeah.
We have to Google that right now cut out our Googling.
And if it was the 80s, it was 89 or 88 because I loved them too. And it was really hard to get, I think Kermit on the bike was really rare.
1986.
The Macca's toys.
Yeah, Muppet Set 1. Yeah, McDonald's, AU here.
Okay, well, no, I stand corrected.
But, yeah, they were very cool.
Yeah, no, I love them. Great TV show too. And we just watched the intro prior to recording this podcast. And even watching that just brought so much nostalgia back, you know, like fucking, I forgot where you saw Kermit swinging in front of the Indiana Jones boulder. And it's interesting too, because there's Star Wars in that too, but it's all because it was Jim Henson. So they were able to. When
I was looking at it, do you remember how they used to flash to live action TV? So do you remember like they'd have, you know, Fozzie would have a dream about something, or Gonzo would try to make a romantic gesture towards Miss Piggy, and then it would flash to them, you know, being in the background of some romantic scene in a popular film, or always did stuff like that. And
which was amazing sci-fi back then too.
Yeah.
See cartoons and real.
A really unique setup, and that's what I was reading about, they were saying, in some of the research they did for Muppet Babies, which wasn't a lot, about how it was a very unique cartoon platform. Not a lot of shows did that flash to real life TV for certain things.
And it was cool the way they did it too. You're like, oh my God, they're actually in the real world.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool. Like, if they were riding a horse and it flashed like a horse, and they'd be like Gonzo looking over at this horse riding past him or whatever. And you'd be like, where did that come from?
Yeah. And then there was Nanny.
Yeah, with her legs and nothing else.
Just the legs. You always wanted to know what fucking Nanny looked like.
Look, kudos to her for taking on all those multi, species orphaned babies.
Yeah, totally. Especially Gonzo. Like, what the fuck are you, Gonzo?
I used to think, oh my God, I would love to adopt all these little tiny babies. Totally. I want them all.
Especially that cute. Yes, Nanny.
Yeah. Okay, over to you.
All right. So the one that I've changed my Thundercats for is Inspector Gadget.
Oh, stop it.
Yes. Right. So this was another one that my mum and so the reason why I thought of Inspector Gadget when we were talking during the Smurfs was Asriel, because remember his cat, Dr. Claw's cat, the grey one, made me think of that. But it was one that my mum and I used to love. My mum found it hilarious because it was Get Smart who used to do the Inspector Gadget. Maxwell Smart did the voice for it. And mum used to love the whole, so the whole, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time, Gadget. All the things he'd do. What was the thing he would say when he'd say, activate.
Go Gadget arms.
Go Gadget, of course. Yeah, go Gadget arms, or go Gadget umbrella. And Penny and Brain were his sidekicks, and they were actually the brains and shit behind the operation, while he was just some fucking klutz.
Would you remember Mighty Mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one.
Oh no, I was thinking Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse. That's actually who I was thinking of. Danger
Mouse. And Penfold. Core Chief. But I used to fucking love Inspector Gadget, and I had one of his toys. Actually, I had two toys that I got for Christmas. One was the Inspector Gadget thing where you could do Go Gadget neck and all that shit and push a button and it would shoot out. And another one was this little toy where you had to maneuver his van. Do you remember the Gadget van that would turn into a car and a plane and all that shit? And you had to sort of...
Very vaguely, but I wasn't into the dudes' toys. I was always into the girly toys.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The dolls and stuff.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, you know, I'm much more into the girly shit now. But back then I guess I was a tomboy for a gay.
But you also like Cabbage Patch dolls, didn't you?
I did have a Cabbage Patch kid called Robbie.
Yes. I remember because Danielle always talks about you and her playing with the Cabbage Patch dolls together.
Oh, that was her Cabbage Patch kid named Mabel.
Oh, right. There you
go. We were her parents. But I had an infant Cabbage Patch, which was called fucking Robbie.
Robbie. He was a baby, was he? He was a baby. I always had bald Cabbage Patches because you remember how in demand they were. They literally you couldn't get them. It was you had to go on waiting lists, and it was insane to try to get them. And I wanted one desperate. My cousin Mel had two with hair, beautiful Cabbage Patch dolls with hair.
Woolen hair.
I had one called Duncan.
No.
That was his name on his birth certificate, and he was bald.
From
And my
Xavier.
sister-
Was it Xavier? He used to sign on it. That
Can't
created
remember
Cabbage Patch.
that.
And he used to have Xavier
Yeah,
signed
yeah,
on the
he signed
bum.
off of them. And my sister had Archibald, who had a little tiny tuft of hair in his bald head, and we were both like, Mum, you got us boys. We got girls. But a fucking girl Cabbage Patches. And we used
And
to
she was
dress
like, yeah,
them.
well, I wanted boys and I got girls, so fucking deal with it.
So I still used to dress her in girls' clothes because you also, it's very hard to get boys' Cabbage Patch dolls back in the day. You could get truckloads of girls' stuff. No one really wanted the boys. So
All the
they weren't that bothered.
accessories, yeah.
So we ended up with fucking boy Cabbage Patches. So we used to have to dress them in girls' clothes and they had no hair. looked
Alopecia.
ill.
Had alopecia.
Totally. The 80s.
The 80s. But yeah, no, I loved Inspector Gadget and Dr. Claw, and at the end of every episode, he'd slam his fist down and the cat would go screaming. Yeah, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time. I never knew what happened to Penny's parents because Inspector Gadget was her uncle. So they must have died tragically.
There you go.
Wowzers.
Wowzers.
Gadget. And that's my Inspector Gadge.
Well, look, I'm doing a little bit like you did. I'm not really sure where to go from here. So, because I have a few now, like that I just really need to talk about. So,
Honorable mentions.
I'm gonna say. I mean, I know I have to do a third big one, but what I had and I couldn't choose between the two was Care Bears / strawberry shortcake.
What about gummy bears?
I did have gummy bears, but then I forgot about Care Bears and strawberry shortcake. And so remember when you used to go to the video shop and pick your videos back in the day? Me and my sister would run, and sometimes we were only allowed to get one. Like sometimes you can only pick one, and we just watch it 85,000 times until we had to return it.
Because you'd get the weekly, of course.
Yes, so it was always a Care Bears or a strawberry shortcake.
Was it the Care Bears TV series or the Care Bears movie?
Look, it depended what was happening, what was available. Generally, it was the TV series, the same with Strawberry Shortcake. It was both, but then they started to bring it. I don't think that they brought out a lot of Strawberry Shortcake movies until much later on. Yeah. The show was there though, and the Care Bears had the Care Bears movies though.
Oh, the movies were the fucking business.
Yeah.
Care Bears,
yeah. And that was our home. And so I remember picking them up at the video shop sometimes, and both me and my sister going to mum and dad and like holding up the same video, like, we're getting this. And they'd be like, but we got that last week. Yeah, we know.
It's irrelevant. We're children.
Sure you want to pick something up? No,
choice.
this is what we want. We want this one. We want this one. You sure want to watch it again? You watch it again. We want this one.
I totally get that. Yeah, no, I used to rewatch the same shit over and over again.
Watch it over and over. So we love them both, and and then we had the dolls, the strawberry shortcake, obviously the Care Bear dolls, but the strawberry shortcake dolls that smelt like the flavors.
Yes.
Like there was the lemon one, there was the blueberry one, there was obviously the strawberry shortcake, there was lemon cheesecake, I think she was.
Wow. I do remember like my female friends when I was younger having them and just being fucking like, why do boys' toys smell like this? You'd smell strawberry shortcake, smell like the strawberries,
And they proper smell lush for ages too. They eventually lost their smell, but they smell. And I remember like having one like that I slept with and just like sniffing it all the time, just being like, this is the best smell in the world.
It's not like a car deodorizer that goes after a day. They actually held their scent for a long time. Speaking of strawberry shortcake toys, I cannot believe we didn't mention this in the Smurfs. Do you remember all the when you get all the figurines from the BP petrol station?
Yes, I do. I hadn't forgotten about it.
I never got any, but a friend of ours, Edward, used to get them through his parents. He had the fucking full collection and the little Smurf house, the mushroom house, and everything.
Yes, look, we might have had one or two, but we didn't have the whole collection. So it wasn't like your Macca's toys where.
No.
Well, even then we didn't really have a lot of Macca's toys. Now the kids, you chuck them in the bin because they have them.
Yeah.
So many of the same one, and they're not good quality either.
They break.
Well, they like the Kinder Surprise, you get them for the kids, and then you're like, there's no point keeping this in it.
Yeah. But the Care Bear movies, do you remember? I think it was the Care Bear Cousins where there was Proud Heart, which was the
Mm.
lion. And then they brought in other ones that weren't the bears. There was the lion, there was the elephant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cousins. Oh my god, it was such a good concept too. Like I used to love those bears, and my sister had a couple. I think I don't actually think I ever got one, but I loved hers. I used to play with hers a lot. I was a little bit older then, I think, and it was like, you know, we're not going to get you a Care Bear. You're a little bit older. I was like, I want a Care Bear.
Yeah. I'd get a Care Bear today. It would be one particular one. It would be it was Good Luck Bear, the green one with the 4-leaf clover on it.
Too.
Yeah.
Well, do you know, I to this day am still traumatized by the fact that I never got Cabbage Patch doll with hair. So I honestly would buy one for myself. Like if I was flush with cash, I would just go and get one. Because I really want to have the experience of opening a girl's name too, because I was very disappointed when I opened my boy Cabbage Patch and his name was Duncan. I was
well,
like,
how do you think your sister felt when she got Archibald? But yeah, no, I fucking loved I loved those Care Bear movies. And I can still remember, like, and it was always at the end of the movie where they had to get together and do the Care Bear stare, and the big thing would shine out of there, whatever it was.
And it solved everything in every situation.
It fixed it all. There was something, I just remember a boat being in the sky for one of those movies. I can't remember what the concept was or why. I think
doing the Care Bear stare on the boat.
Yeah. But I think there was one of the Care Bears got sick, or Happy got gloomy or something, or got taken away. Anyway.
There was something about it, a sad cloud.
Yes. Yeah. But they always had their clouds too as well, didn't they?
Yeah, because they slept on the clouds, didn't
they? Yeah. Them fucking bears caring so much. That was good. Okay, well, now we're up to the honourable mentions. So from 86, the real Ghostbusters. Do you remember them?
Oh, yes. It came up in some of my Google searches.
That was that was a real fucking forward animation, in the sense that it had more new style anime.
I don't remember watching it a lot. I remember it, but I don't remember watching it a lot.
It was very rare to be able to see it as well. Like if we got it, it was one episode a week type of thing, and it was like you had to be at the right time when you were watching it, watching your cartoon show, you know, program to see it in that lineup. But yeah, it was one of those ones that when you watched it, it was like, okay, I've got to actually watch all of this, because it had all the Ghostbusters and little Slimer and all that. I loved that.
Such a serious child, weren't you?
I was very serious. I had a brow and everything. What's your first honourable mention?
Okay, look, it should have been in my top 3. It was really hard to pick a top 3. It's DuckTales.
Oh my god, yes.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie,
and Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge, and they always got up to DuckTales. And then they had was it something Rangers? There was something the DuckTale Rangers or something. They had another spin-off show after that. But they were always up to mischief. They were so cute. They talked to those little quacky cute voices.
Yes. Yeah, that was good. That was in the same sort of caliber as the real Ghostbusters. That when you got like the cartooning of it or the animation of it was like next level. It was good.
But I remember it being like a Saturday cartoon. I don't remember it being a weekly cartoon or anything, but it was an every Saturday morning, and I'd be like, I have to watch DuckTales.
Yes.
Like, get
and they'd be in the
TV
plane
for
and all that. Yeah.
Yes. And then Scrooge was always like, you know,
diving into his big money pool. He was swimming through it. And he always wanted to do that. But you know, if you tried to swim through a thing of coins, one, you'd be covered in fucking every disease under the sun.
Yeah.
And two, you'd fucking die.
Yeah. And he loved it. And then the kids were always like, screwing shit up for him and
but
stuff.
You remember he'd dive into the pool of coins, come out, stick his head out and spit coins out like water?
Yes, I do remember that. Yes. I used to love that too. I'd be like, I want all that money, please. Great show. But then it spun off into that Rangers Ducks. There wasn't DuckTale Rangers, it was something.
Yeah, because they were all
the big duck. What was the big duck?
Yes.
that used to fly the plane.
He was a muscly duck. Yeah.
Yeah, something Rangers. Rescue Rangers. It was Rescue Rangers.
Oh, was it? I thought Rescue Rangers was the two mice. Launchpad, his name was.
Yeah, but what was the show? Was it Rescue Rangers?
Rescue Rangers, you're dead right. Oh no, Rescue Rangers has got the mice.
But it also had Launchpad was the main, one of the main characters.
Yes. Chip and Dale were in it.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Do you have any more honorary mentions? Because I've got a few more.
I've got 3 more. So I'll go back to Thundercats, and I spoke about Thundercats about how it was the first time I actually realised that stories could continue.
I always thought it was boring.
I loved Thundercats, ho! And Lion-O and Pantero, Chitera. And I remember back when I was living in London at the time, it's when downloading became a thing where you could download TV shows through fucking torrent sites and whatnot. And I downloaded
it all and just watched
the full fucking thing of Thundercats. I'm like, right, I can't wait to watch this and get into it with Mumra, the evil person. I watched about 2 episodes. I'm like, yeah. There was a character in it called Schnarf, who was like this sort of cat head, but had a tail like a lizard tail or something. And he used to and he would walk through and he'd be like, oh, Schnarf, I've done the bad thing, Schnarf, and shit like that. And I was like, okay, I am out. I've done it. And I deleted 3 gigabytes worth of shows off my fucking hard drive. I cannot do this. Do you want me to quickly go to another shout out? Do you want to do a shout out?
Okay, no, I'll go. Just because I've got one more cool one, but I'm just going to drop this one in. Super Ted. Do you remember Super Ted?
Oh, yes.
The bear that used to fly with the cape on?
Yeah, I just love Super Ted. Now, that was one of the cartoons that you'd watch on ABC.
Yes, it was in the afternoon. Yes.
5 o'clock, 5:30. And I used to hate it because I used to watch those shows and be watching my cartoons and love it, and then it would switch to EastEnders, like at 6 on ABC. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
No, is that it? Dun dun. Was that EastEnders?
Dun, 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 dun,
dun, dun. But anyway, it showed the River Thames and come up from that. And as soon as that noise happened, my dad would be cooking dinner, knew it was 6 o'clock and it was time to switch over to the news. And I'd be like, no.
Cartoons are over.
Cartoons are done. Yeah, I do remember Super Ted. And do you remember Banana Man? Where that kid would eat a banana.
He was that little tiny cartoon that only went for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So,
like a danger mouse.
Super Ted was the same, wasn't he? Super Ted
I think he was a small one. And was Super Ted the one with that yellow man Spot as his sidekick?
Yes, it was too. Yeah. And I feel like the villain was like a dark man, like a black, like he was like had a black suit on or something. I can't remember. But I remember Super Ted.
I remember Banana Man's fucking nemesis was Apple somebody. One series of it. That's what I was going to say about when I was saying about the continuing storylines and all that shit.
With Thundercats, yes.
With the Thundercats, how I knew there was a series, because there's so many shows where you could just sit down and watch at any point, where you realise that the actual series, like Voltron, I think only went for 3 seasons or 2 seasons, the Lion one. But I'd watch it continually for fucking what seemed like 3 years or 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So because you
could replay a cartoon, because it didn't really comprehend to us that we were watching the same thing over and over. It was just like, oh my God, we can finally watch something other than what our parents are watching. Don't care if we've seen it 85,000 times. Can we please just watch this cartoon?
Yes. Yeah.
Because we didn't get a lot of TV time either. Our parents dominated.
And we also had 4 channels to choose from. So it's not like we had a fucking 24/7.
We had a very small window of watching TV. And if our parents said that we were either doing something and going to our grandparents, or they didn't watch TV on, or they wanted to watch something, it was like, fucking.
No streaming,
you're
no recording.
Low on the priority list.
Yes, yeah, get in while you can. So one of the next ones that I'm going to bring up really quickly is Popimals. Do you remember them? They would stay with the little balls.
Things that you pushed into each other.
And then they'd pop out into an animal. Yeah.
Yes, I do vaguely remember that cartoon, but that would have been late 80s, wouldn't it?
It was, and it wasn't really that great. I didn't remember really watching much of it. I just remember it was a cool concept because you could buy the toys that went with it, where they were a furry ball, and then you'd push it out and it'd turn into a elephant or something. But the one that
Well-
I do want to mention is Rainbow Bright. Did you watch
Oh!
that cartoon?
I thought about putting that in the same sentence as Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake,
Yes.
and then I was going to do Rainbow Bright because I actually got my sister a Rainbow Bright T-shirt. It was a Rainbow Bright and a Strawberry Shortcake when they were friends, like holding hands. Like it was a shirt that
Was
I
it a
got last year
crossover?
for her birthday. No, it was
Oh,
just some like thing that came up on, you know how things like promotion on Facebook that came up, and it was like a Rainbow Bright and Strawberry Shortcake like holding hands, or we've got their arms around each other.
Yeah.
And it was like from an Asian shop, and it cost me
Yeah.
like $40 or something, but I sent it to her for her birthday.
Because it was
Oh
cool.
yeah, this is so cool.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we watched, and my brothers were also into Rainbow Bright, the cartoon series, because when it
That's
first,
interesting.
it is, because when it first sort of was airing, the first series, because remember she had all her friends. She was Rainbow Bright, but then there was Violet and Indigo or whatever. They were all different single
Yes.
colors. And the thing,
Yes.
and they all had little furry friends that was,
Yes.
they had one furry friend each, I think, that was relevant to their color. And in the first season, it was about her going and finding the other colors and unlocking them from whichever. It was like basically a video
Yes.
game where you'd go through
Yes.
and you'd find your person, you'd have, then should defeat the whoever was holding them or figure out how to unlock them and free them. And it was just this thing again where you'd keep going along and seeing who she was going to rescue next and stuff like that. I loved
It was also a great cartoon. My sister had the Rainbow Bright doll.
Yes.
I know I talk about it seems like my sister got everything, and I didn't really get all the stuff, doesn't it? Because I keep talking
Even
about
her
my
Cabbage
sister.
Patch had a little bit of
Had
hair.
hair.
A little tough.
What the fuck is that about?
Yeah.
There's just clearly some favoritism going on in this family. I do think in her defense, my thing was Barbie dolls. I was massively into Barbie dolls. So I think a lot of the times my sister got some of these random dolls, but I was more like, nah, get me another Barbie.
Add that to the collection. Do you have any more?
Okay. Retro style. I'm not talking about new style, but retro style Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh yeah.
And they coined
Simon,
how many
Alvin, Theodore.
hit Alvins.
Oh yeah, totally.
They were like a superstar.
Maria
Like-
still talks about her record, Chipmunk Punk, that she
I've
won.
got some of the Chipmunk albums that have been given to me over the years because I collect records. And I remember us having them when we were young. Like there was a Christmas album. I've got the Christmas album, by the way. Incredibly vintage. Might be worth some money.
You could make any record though a Chipmunk record, really, couldn't you? When you just speed it up.
Of course. And it wasn't hard for them to do that. But do you
Yeah.
remember the Chipmunk Christmas record? Do you remember singing Christmas carols and Chipmunks?
I don't remember
Oh
the
my
Christmas
God.
one.
Oh yeah. We used to love that when we were little.
But you had Maria won Chipmunk Punk, the record, the vinyl. I think she's still probably got it, but she won it at a Pizza Hut pizza eating contest when she was about 8.
Because she ate a lot of pizza.
I think it was like a quick thing. You had to eat the piece of pizza the quickest or something. And Maria won it and won the Chipmunk Punk album.
That is so good. I love that. It's such an 80s thing to do too.
Totally. And
Who would
Pizza
make
Hut.
a kid sit down and eat so much pizza.
Alright.
But yeah, I was a massive Alvin and the Chipmunks fan. I used to love like the whole Theodore, Simon,
Alvin, Theodore. I love Alvin
Theodore
was the
my
troublemaker.
favourite. Yes.
Simon was the nerd.
square.
I
Yeah.
loved Theodore, the chunky.
Theodore was the baby,
chunky,
the little
giggly
fat
one.
baby.
Yeah, I loved him. He was my favorite. He'd just be always eating and getting in trouble.
And
do you remember?
chips.
Yeah. Do you remember? And it was in the 90s, I think, they did a Chipmunk Adventure. It was a movie and it was in the cinemas, but I remember having the VHS. And it was when the Chipmunk girls were into it, introduced into it.
I loved the Chipmunk Girls. I loved it when they came into it. And then they were in some of the movies, I think, the more recent
Yes.
movies. But again, another movie that you want to absolutely kill yourself over if you see
Right.
it is similar to like the Trolls and the Smurfs. You know, sometimes when they bring out animated films these days, they're amazing. And you're literally like,
Yeah.
this is so good. But they're one of those movies that
You don't give it, don't
don't
give the time
bother.
to. Yeah, no, the Chipmunk Adventure one that I'd seen was they did a race, I think, against the girls around the world in their hot air balloons. And they'd meet in countries and
remember
have a
that.
song off, basically. And
Yeah.
the girls
And
were all
then
the same. There was
the same.
basically a Simon, Alvin, and a Theodore. Yeah.
And the little cute fat chunky one.
Yeah.
I loved her too. She was
And the giggling.
pigtails. Yeah. She was cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did want to make a mention about technically, and this is going to make you feel old, that The Simpsons is an 80s cartoon because it started in 1989.
But it only aired in Australia in 1990.
Yes, yeah, you're right about that. It was another one of those ones that we waited with bated breath to come out. Like, we knew it was coming and we were like, oh my God, The Simpsons is going to be here, because again, you couldn't rent it.
And because
it was programmed to a station and it was coming to Channel 10. We had to wait for Channel 10 wanted to show it to us.
Yeah, and originally it started off as a short on the Tracy Ullman show.
Yeah, and then they showed it on not the Oscars, was it? No, it was the MTV Movie Awards, one of those. Yeah. And then they showed it on that, and then just before they released it as a show. Boom. Yeah. And then if you watch the original series, the cartoon, and even the one on the Tracy Ullman show and the one on the MTV Movies or whatever award show it was, like the level of sophistication in the cartoon creating is very poor compared to what it is today.
Oh, totally.
But talk about you downloading Thundercats in England. Simpsons is one of those shows that up until probably even when I had Link, which was 16 years ago, was still a show that I could plop myself down in front of and watch. Now anytime. I can't really stomach it now. I'm a bit.
There's some I can. If it's more of the later episodes, I'll sit down and have it watching in the background if nothing else is on. If it's the earlier episodes that I've seen 20 times each, I'm just like, done.
Yeah. Which you did. You ended up seeing them all, and you could just recite most of the words throughout it. Like, I got to a stage where I could do that.
Yeah, because it became a thing where it was on at 6 o'clock every night. Yeah.
And you just hear that music all the time.
Dun, dun. Yeah.
I know.
So I've got one more last little shout out.
Go.
And it is one that just came to me. So this is actually a cartoon that was in the late 70s, early 80s. And it was an ABC one. And this is one when I was probably about 5 that I remember liking. So when we first got our beta video player, Mum was on the radio and she won a contest by singing a Dr. Hook song from start to finish. Do you remember Billy J. Smith?
I love Dr. Hook. Is that the song Billy J. Smith?
No. The radio. Do you remember It's a Knockout, the TV show?
Yes.
It's with Fiona McDonald and Billy J. Smith.
I loved It's a Knockout.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was the host on that, and she sang on this radio competition. I think it was Walk Right In, Sit Right Down or something.
Oh, I love Dr. Hook so much.
And when she won it,
Dr. Hook.
Yeah. And when she won the contest, what she won was like free videos for a month from the local video shop. And we're all able to go out and pick our own video. And I picked the Toothbrush Family, which was like an hour-long video, but each episode was 5 minutes. And at the end of every episode, they would sing, brush your teeth up and down, make them clean, round and round, blah, blah, blah. And my parents...
I remember that.
My fucking family hated me because I made them watch the whole hour. And over that hour, there was about 20 renditions of this song. And they're like, are we done now? I'm like, no! There's another episode.
This is my movie.
This is my choice. I have to sit through your shit. You can sit through my shit. Okay?
Did your parents ever do the thing where they'd put a video and be like, okay, kids, and this is an adult's movie.
Oh, yeah.
You need to go in the bedroom and you're not allowed to come out. Because there's lots of swearing and there's lots of other stuff that you shouldn't see. And we'd be like, but we want to watch it.
Yeah. We'd be in the hallway, sneaking up and peeking around the corner.
And like opening the door like so quietly, getting in your tummy and like, totally commando, like there. Crawling in there and just like put your head through. And my sister's like, don't, Skye, don't. Just stay
Sarah.
Here. You're not allowed. I'm like, you can stay. I'm going.
I'm commandoing up that.
I want to see why I can't watch it. And then I'm like,
yeah.
And then when they'd find me, I pretend to be asleep.
Oh, it's just so passed out. I remember watching Xanadu, the end of Xanadu, in that same thing because it was too late and we had to send to bed. And I remember peeking around the hall. Xanadu. Memories.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
My last one is the one that was going to be my top 3, but I bumped it for a bunch of other, and it's Scummy Bears. Gummy bears
Bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Going unprepared. They are the gummy bears.
With
I
their
remember
secret
gummy
gummy berry
juice.
juice. Yeah. And
Gummy
that would make
berry
them
juice.
bounce. Boing.
Yeah. And that fixed everything.
Yeah, because they'd bounce over somewhere or shoot out of a rocket or some shit.
And there was the castle. Remember there was the castle, and I can't remember. I think the prince was the good guy that was in the castle, but then there was someone else who was bad in the castle.
Yeah, like the chaperone or whatever, or the fucking advisor or something. Yeah.
Something like that. But
I used to love gummy bears.
The best part. The song was the best part when it would come in. Gummy bears. Yes, they are.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in on our jaunt back to the 80s, where we had 4 channels to choose from, but so many cartoon greats that we still love to this day.
Tune in next week for our What's the Haps episode, when we discuss some of the current affairs that interest. Tune in next week for our What's the Haps episode, when we discuss some of. Tune in next week.
My health, your health.
Tune in next week for our What's the Haps episode, when we discuss some current affairs that interested us from the past 4 weeks. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe to your heart's content.
And tell your friends, for fuck's sake.
Tell all your friends.
All your friends.
Bye, super bitches.
Good night, sugar bitches.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That's stupid.